So if you've ever built a B2B SaaS, the ugly part is when you come to add those organization-specific features, such as seat-based billing. Because now you're tracking a number of things. You're tracking members inside the organization, subscriptions, sending emails to when people join or leave. I'm praying that while all of this is happening, your UI, organization data, webhooks, invoices, all of that stays in sync and doesn't drift apart. Yeah, it's a lot of work that you need to factor in. And trust me, it takes a huge amount of time, and getting it all right is a lot of work. And I wanted to bring this to your attention because Clerk just introduced something which I have been asking for a very long time: seat limited billing. It's honestly really, really good. Instead of writing custom logic around who's inside of an organization, gating them, you offload all of that to Clerk. They enforce the limits and you can just focus on the actual product itself. And today I'm going to show you how you can set it all up. And trust me, it's way easier than you think. And I'm pretty sure you'll never go back after you see this video. Sunny here and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I teach you everything AI coding so you can be ahead of the game against everyone else. And also teach you how to do it right at the same time. So if that sounds good, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe to see more videos just like this. And without further ado, let's dive into this demo. So the first thing I want you to do is head over to the following page. It's on the screen right now. That is also the first link in the description. It is an affiliate link, so it tells Clerk that you came from us, which allows me to keep making videos for free. So I appreciate that. So once you go to that link in the description, you land on this page. The first step I want you to do is you can read this out for yourself. It's a really nice blog as to basically how the whole thing works, especially around the limiting based on if you don't have any more seats in the organization. But what I want you to do is go to this button right here, navigate to the new organization plan. If you're not logged in, it will cause you to log in, and then you'll have to create a new project. So I'm going to do that whole, flow from the beginning. So once you've gone ahead and click that link, I need you to go ahead and create your project. So we're going to go ahead and say this one is Clerk seat limited billing demo, and then you can enable all your sign-in options, create application. But I've gone ahead and already set things up, so I'm going to show you what to do in the Clerk backend side of things to get all of this up and wired, right? Effectively, I've created a nice demo to showcase it all myself because I like to teach it that way. But what we're going to be showing today is how in a B2B setup, so where we have organizations with team members inside, how we can go ahead and enforce member limits per plans. Okay, so it's actually a really, really simple, nice way. In this case, you can see we've got 3 plans. We've got bronze, silver, and gold. And a quick little brief introduction to it. So imagine bronze had up to 10 seats, silver up to 25 seats, and gold up to unlimited seats, right? So you can pretty much go ahead and, create as many as you want. That's a very common scenario for when you have B2B apps, right? And B2B, if you don't know what that means organizations. So effectively really large companies. If you want to know how to set up B2B from scratch, I have actually created a whole video on that. It'll be popping around the screen right about now. So you go ahead and check that out. I've done a whole masterclass on B2B with Clerk Billing. It's a pretty well-loved video from you guys based on your response, right? So what I've done to go ahead and demo things out is I've created a little demo application. So here we have plans for our team, monthly, annual, and this is actually my own app, right? So effectively, I've gone ahead and coded up these cards ourselves, but Clerk make it really easy. They give you a pricing table component. You set things up on Clerk's backend, for example, what the features are, and also what number of seats you want for each plan. And then one snippet of code and you get the entire pricing table. So that's literally it, right? So if you want to go ahead and implement that and you don't want to do too much work, and again, I've had no styling applied. You can actually give it styling to customize all of this stuff with maybe your theme colors, and then go ahead and click on, for example, switch this plan, and you get the entire checkout flow handled for you. So everything is pretty much covered. It's amazing, honestly. But I want to show you today how we can not only set up that seat-based limiting, so like so, super, honestly, it's crazy easy. You're going to love it. But also how you can create a custom pricing page like this, right? So they've introduced some new components. So maybe you don't want to use the pricing table component. Maybe you want to be able to, allow your users to go ahead and, customize their pricing pages however they want, but you still want them to be able to trigger this checkout flow, and you still want them to, if they have an active subscription, be able to manage the subscription. So Clerk introduced loads of new components that can help us do that, and allow us to have the seat limited billing inside of it. So let's dive into it. Let's give it a quick demo. I'm going to go to organization. Let's go ahead and call one, for example. Let's say that this is Papa Fam org test, right? So a very lovely name for organization, but trying to stress the point, right? Go ahead and click on create organization. You can give it an image if you want. Now you can see I'm inside of that organization. Now, the difference between B2C and B2B is that you can be a part of many different, organizations if you configure it that way. Again, it's easy to set that up. But when we created that organization, by default, I am an admin of that organization. So if I go to manage, see how we have all of this set up for us? If we go to members, you can see, look, I've set mine up. So by default, we have 1 seat available on the free plan. So when you create an organization, initially it's going to be based on a free plan. So here you can see I cannot invite, right? So if I go ahead and see this, it's grayed out. Now, if I want to enable seats, I've gone ahead and created a couple of plans for that. So we've got growth and pro. So in this case, my growth plan has 5, my pro plan has unlimited, and I can choose monthly or annual, right? And in this case, I've connected it the same way. I'm going to show you how you can do it as well. You can either use the Clerk pricing table, or I'll show you later on how we can do this ourselves, right? So I'm going to go ahead and start firstly on the growth plan monthly, test things out, come up over here. And then what we can see is if I go ahead and either put my card details in, or they got this nice test mode card, right? So in this case, we can just click on test mode, click it. And as we can see in just a sec, there you go. Now that's activated the current plan. And you can see it says manage subscription. It was all real time. My subscription changed. And now I can even, modify things from here. Or if I click on join pro, it will calculate all of the difference in cost. Even if I went to annual and I went to join pro here, you can see it will calculate all of those differences. And this will be pro rata. So if I've done it, if I've been a member for 5 days, it handles all of that for us. But the most important part is obviously limiting the number of seats. So before I couldn't invite, but if I go to members now, hey, I can actually invite. And I've got 1 of 5 seats used. So let's go ahead and invite Jay to the team. So I'm going to say J439@gmail.com. Sorry, Jay, I just outed your email. Click on row. We've got member and admin. Say I want to bring Jay in as an admin. Click on, as a member, send the invite out. And as you can see, now I've used 1 of my seats, okay? So, and that's actually an invitation until he's accepted it. So obviously even an invitation counts as a seat. If I was to revoke Jay's access, sorry, Jay, and as you can see, I get my seat back. Now, a couple of things to consider here. If you were to create this yourself, you would have to handle the emails, the whole email flow, the whole, decision when they click on the email, what happens. You have to handle everything. And then you have to make sure that your Stripe stays in sync with your organization settings and in your database. And, is that member joined yet, or have they not joined yet? Has it got the right number of seats left? Everything has to be manual, and it could be drifted out at any point. You saw here, it was so easy to implement, right? And all of that, by the way, happened with 1 line of code. Like I said, that actual header, if I show you the actual header component, you can see here, OrganizationSwitcher. There you go, right? And I'm making it sure that we can skip the invitation screen. But if you didn't want to skip the invitation screen, if you are actually going to go ahead and create another organization now, it would bring you to that organization flow, right? So in this case, I don't want them to be able to do that until they upgrade a plan. So of course, I'm going to skip the screen for now. Okay, now if I wanted to go ahead and upgrade to pro, let's give that a try. So obviously, let's say I want unlimited number of seats, right? Let's go ahead and click on join pro, click on pay. And then that will charge my card. And also, by the way, it's sending me emails now. Okay, so I'm going to show you the emails that it sends in a moment. But if we go to manage, go to members, we can see that now I have no more limit, right? So before it said 1 of 5 seats available, right? You can see I have no more limit, and I can just invite. And this is awesome. So now that whole flow is handled. Just want to show you guys the actual email that gets sent out as well. So they handle everything here. And also, remember, like I said, it's not just about adding people into your organization. It's row-based access control, which, by the way, like I said, I covered inside that entire masterclass that I linked earlier. So all of those things are part of Clerk's offering from the get-go. Okay, so you've got member, admin, and trust me, I've done this manually before. It's a huge amount of work to get right. So if you think it's quick, I promise you, I guarantee you're missing a corner case, and this is something you really have to be careful about, right? So I'm going to go ahead and invite my team account so I can show you the email, team@paparia.com, send the invitation, and then you see invitations successfully sent. So let's go take a look at the email and see what it sent. Okay, so a couple of things here. We've got the payment receipt. So in this case, remember, payment receipt for the first plan that we signed up for. There we have it. Right, and obviously this is a bit more customization. You can customize this out with your logo and all that kind of stuff if you add a logo to your organization and so forth. And then you can see it even describes the pro rata that I talked about earlier. But the main thing is the invitation, right? So in this case, this is the seat-based approach that we talked about. Click on accept invitation. And this at the moment, I don't believe we've wired it up, but let's have a look what happens. So we get taken to the landing page, and then we can go ahead and it says fill in the missing fields. So let's log in with the team account. If I logged in with this account, it would say you're not allowed. So let's go ahead and do team@paparia.com. And just like that, I'm inside the organization, right? So if I go over here now, you can see I am on the team Paparia account. I can see members, I can see billing, but notice how, because I was added as a member, I can't invite people. Okay, so this is perfect. This is exactly what we wanted. And if you don't want to show billing, you can do all of that. I've shown you how to do that in the other masterclass that I mentioned. Okay, so let's set this up. And then I can show you how we can go ahead and enforce those seats as well. And by the way, if you did have, for example, 5 invites or 5 members inside and you try to invite again, it would simply be grayed out. And when you hover over it, it will say that you need to upgrade your plan in order to get more access. So setting this up is a breeze. Let's firstly look at the code. So a couple of things I want to show you. We go into pricing plans to get the pricing table. So if we go back to the main page to get the pricing table, literally like I showed you, one snippet of code, you'll render this out. And again, you set all of these things up on Clerk side. And then for these, the new components that they've added, for example, manage subscription or join growth, inside the code, I've got a component called plan card, which I've created. And the main real thing that I need you to look at is one, the show component. So show component has conditions that we can apply. Basically, this is saying when we have the plan. So in this case, it would be plan pro or growth, basically, depending on how I pass in the prop. The fallback would be when you don't have access. So everything inside this block up to here would be, for example, the checkout button to join that plan, right? So this is the component which is new from Clerk, which allows you to go ahead and basically specify the organization, the period, the plan ID, which we can get from the Clerk dashboard, and where to go after the dashboard, right? After you sign up. So this renders out the join button, which then renders out the checkout page. And what I can do is, as I'm actually, if you're not an admin and you try and click this, it will actually restrict you like so. And even this one, you can actually see, but you can't change anything. So let's log back into my other account. Okay. And now when I'm in once I'm in the main account, if I go ahead and click on join growth, you can see it renders the entire checkout flow, right? So this one and also this one, I have more options because I'm an admin, right? So those are all handled for us. Of course, when you're not on the fallback, so let's look at the ending for the fallback. This is what gets rendered out if we do have the plan. So the actual new component from Clerk is SubscriptionDetailsButton. Okay, so this one right here. So that managed subscription is basically if you have got that membership, in this case Pro, you can go ahead and basically have that button render and it will show your active membership. So you can go ahead and cancel, switch maybe to monthly, and it shows, for example, your billing cycles and all that stuff. So this is basically really, really simple to go ahead and implement, right? I'm going to show you now. So once you go to that link in the description, you land on this page. The first step I want you to do is you can read this out for yourself. It's a really nice blog as to basically how the whole thing works, especially around the limiting based on if you don't have any more seats in the organization. But what I want you to do is go to this button right here, navigate to the new organization plan. If you're not logged in, it will cause you to log in and then you'll have to create a new project. So I'm going to do that whole, flow from the beginning. So once you go ahead and click that link, I need you to go ahead and create your project. So we're going to go ahead and say this one is Clerk seat limited billing demo. And then you can enable all your sign-in options, create application. But I've gone ahead and already set things up. So I'm going to show you what to do in the Clerk backend side of things to get all of this up and wired, right? So once you've wired it up, you're going to click on configure. Then you want to go over to organizations and you've got settings. Now, if your organizations isn't enabled, it would ask you to enable it. And then once you're here, you can configure all of your organization settings. But the one that I want to pay attention today is membership limit. So here you can see set the default number of users allowed for new organizations. And remember, this gets overridden by your plan. So in the beginning, this is basically saying how many seats are you going to allow basically for a organization in the exact, the start when that organization was created. So when we created it, for example, when you create organization or you trigger it from another flow, how many seats should we allow them to have? Okay. So if you set this to 1, it means that by default, the person who created it is going to basically be on a free plan. And I'll show you that plan in a moment. And then we don't want to allow them to invite anyone. And this is what I'd recommend. And unless you have a specific reason for allowing them to invite users directly, right? But typically when they sign up, you want them to be the only admin and then they should upgrade to a paid plan. So this is where we go into billing. Now, when you go into billing and click settings, you will firstly have to enable organization billing. So in this case, I've already enabled it. Once you've enabled organization billing, I want you to go ahead and while we're testing, you can leave it in Clerk Payment Gateway. Once you're ready for production, you simply go to the top, change this development to production instance, and then you would change that to Stripe account and just connect it. Okay, so it's very, very simple to get that up and running. But for now, we're testing. It's all easy. We're going to go to enable organization. Then we're going to click on manage plans. And then you can see we've got 3 plans. Now, this is what I was talking about. Whenever you create a new organization, you are by default given this plan. Okay, so this plan is by default already created, and you can see we can make it publicly available or not available, and that means it would show up on that pricing card component. So if you see over here, if I enable this and I go ahead and click on save, now if I was to refresh the page, you would see the initial plan, this one right here. And this is what you actually subscribe to when you create a new organization by default inside a Clerk. Okay, so that's the first thing worth knowing. So I would typically have this hidden because I don't want to show the free plan. If I'm doing a B2B, typically, it depends. What I prefer to do is have free trials on a paid plan. So in this case, we've got growth and pro. So you just simply click on create plan. You name whatever plan you want. The key is important for matching later on. And then you give it a description, free trial if you want to have it. It sets everything up for you. This is why I love Clerk billing. And then we have the publicly available setting again. I will appear on the pricing table and organization profile component. So that basically would render the organization profile settings inline if you ever want it. And then you can set your pricing details. So I've actually done all of this. So I'm actually going to jump into my ones that I've done and I'll show you how we set it up, right? Now, the main thing is, firstly, we've got the monthly fee, the annual fee. This is the cool one that we've introduced, seat-based. Now, because I have an existing subscription on here, we can't change this. And that is for a solid reason. Otherwise, there's lots and lots of edge cases that would mess up. So in this case, you want to make sure that you're pretty much guaranteed on how many seats you agree to. Now, in this case, you can have unlimited or you can have a custom limit, right? So for our growth plan, we want to basically give people a test. So we gave it 5. And then we went ahead and added in some features. Now the features are gone ahead and shown inside of this part right here. So up to 5 seats gets determined by the number we put in here. Otherwise it will say unlimited seats on Pro, which I'll show you afterwards. But these 2 features right here, core collaboration features and email support, are basically added in here. You just click on add feature and you just enable these. And again, I've shown you that in the masterclass, right? If we go and check over at Pro to get unlimited seats, we simply toggled unlimited members, right? And then we enable our features. And I can show you that if we click on create plan. It's as simple as clicking seat based. And this is the new feature which allows for seat limited billing. And let charge organizations based on the number of members they have. Limit organization members sets the maximum number of members allowed in an organization on this plan. So you can basically now limit them, right? And again, if you want to allow for unlimited members, basically in development, you can try that out for free. However, for going to production, you would actually have to enable a paid add-on. But most companies actually maybe only control the number of users, unless you have an enterprise plan, in which case you probably will have unlimited members. But if you don't have an enterprise plan, you pretty much don't need to. So you could say up to maybe 50 members or up to 25 members, right? For example. Okay. So in this case, we've got our, our plan set, growth and pro. You can find your plan IDs here. So this is effectively how we can use it afterwards, right? So if I go over here now, back to our code, once you've done that, and again, I hid the pricing table. There we go. So the free is gone now. Once we've done that, it's pretty much done. That is all you needed to do. So once you've set things up on Clerk, now all you would have to do, imagine we were logged out. You'd basically be able to see, like, say if I'm not logged in, you can see pricing table renders out. You can't buy because we're not logged in. Okay. So first things first, you'd have to sign in. And again, I've got loads of tutorials about Clerk authentication on the channel, so feel free to check those out. But again, if I sign in, go ahead and, log into my account. Now we can see, okay, I'm on this default organization. Let's go ahead and test the flow one more time. Let's go ahead and create a test. We can just say YouTube test organization, right? Create the organization. And now you can see, look, yep, we can see we're not subscribed to a single plan. And over here, if I show you just simply with the one snippet of code that we set up, you can see that we get the full checkout flow just from that one snippet. And that is why I truly love it, because already from just enabling that option, right? The option over here, the seat-based option, now you have full seat limited billing. So that, I don't think you understand how crazy powerful that really is. So this one, you can see it's grayed out. I can't invite. Okay. So 1 of 1 seats used. Okay. So this is literally all implemented just from a single token, which is absolutely nuts. It means that we don't have to have any of those crazy, back-end functions kicking off with webhooks, none of it, right? You don't have to worry about any of it. You just toggle something like that, simple, right? And then you focus on building a product for enterprise B2B organizations, right? What I'd recommend you do is definitely, if you want to know more about the details of this, go check out the blog that is linked in the first link in the description. And it'll take you to this to just go ahead and read a couple of things. But basically, it's everything I explained. The main thing that I want to show you is actually how to customize the pricing table so you can have a more nicer experience and custom implementation, right? So getting this set up is actually really simple. So they've got 2 new components that I want to introduce you to. So if we go to the docs, go to Next.js, for example, go to billing management, go to billing for B2B, and then you see over here, we've got create a pricing page. This is a pricing table that we used at the bottom. And notice how it says for organization, because if we leave this out, it'll be billing for B2C, which is a separate thing. Then we have the access gating. So in this case, I talked about this in the masterclass, but you can basically gate based on the plan, the feature itself, or if they're logged in or not, and so forth. But the one that I want to show you is the new component that they recently added. If you go to search and type in checkout button, you'll see over inside of the billing components, we have the components. So we've got the pricing table, the checkout button, which renders a checkout button that opens the checkout drawer. So this one right here. We've got the plan details button, which is basically wraps another button, and then it'll open up this, which shows the actual plan details. And then we have the subscription details button, which shows you the following. Okay. So all of these buttons are wrappers. So in this case, we can see checkout button is wrapping this regular button. Okay. And you can style it however you want. Over here, you basically say join the plan. And in this case, I've just, made this a reusable component, the plan card. But I want you to pay attention to here. Plan period. If we were to get rid of this, you can see we've got annual or month, right? So I've just passed in the period as a customizable prop. And then we've got the plan ID. And like I showed you earlier, the plan ID was actually inside of the plan itself. So if we go to the specific plan, for example, I'm on growth here, you can see that is actually the plan ID, right? Now, for demo purposes, I've just included this inside of, if we go to plan data, I've included it over here. So you can see we have the growth plan ID and then the pro plan ID. Of course, what I'd recommend here is you store these as environment variables. And that's going to be the way that I'd recommend you do that. And then you can basically render in your plan cards, right, accordingly. And then all you need to do is just wrap the button, right? So it's as simple as that. And now you have the actual button, which will kickstart the checkout flow. So I didn't have to do a single webhook. I didn't have to do anything around Stripe. I didn't have to do anything like that. I simply used that wrapper, wrapped a single button, right? So in this case, this button right here is just wrapped around that, and it opens up the entire checkout flow, and this handles everything for us. And then we have the same for Pro, right? And then once we're a member, so in this case, again, I'll show you once you're a member, we then have the alternative, which is the subscription details button. And that one is the one that I showed you earlier. If I just move this out of the way, oh, it's just moved me over. Actually, I can show you the actual new button. So if we click manage subscription, I'll show you the subscription details button. But if we go to the dashboard, I have a few actual of the other components. So if we go to the dashboard page, we've got the dashboard client. And then inside of here, we have two. We have personal and organization. Now, I had this one because this is if you did B2C. But organization here, if we click on view organization subscription, it simply loads up the same as we showed before. Okay, so that we render out by doing the following. So you can see here the subscription details button, very, very simple. And then we've got the one that I haven't shown you that, the plan details button. Plan details literally just takes the plan ID and ensures that it will go ahead and show you the actual features of that plan. So in this case, I've got two examples here. I've got the plan for growth. So here we can see just the plan details for it and also the billing amounts and also for Pro, right? So there we have it. It's as simple as that, guys. You have seat limited billing as well as all of the other billing elements for a full B2B setup. Okay, so let's zoom out for a second. What didn't we have to build today? So by using Clerk, we didn't have to write our own seat-based counter or logic or any kind of database calls to see which members are in an organization. We didn't need to build a custom sync between organization members and some kind of external database. I didn't mention webhooks a single time. And we didn't have to check at any point if the billing was matching the active subscription before, for example, we sent out invitations to new members. I didn't handle emails. And on top top of all of this, I get all of the benefits that Clerk already offer for organizations. And quite honestly, guys, that's the real win that I want to stress about here. It's not just about being a fewer lines of code. It's fewer places where things can really go wrong. So trust me when I say you ain't going to regret this, because when I switched to Clerk, now honestly, I barely think about authentication. Go ahead and get started by using the first link in the description. Yes, it is an affiliate link, so it helps me create these videos for free because it tells the guys over at Clerk that you came from this video. So I appreciate that. And as always, if you liked the video and found it useful, don't forget to hit the like button and oh yeah, subscribe if you haven't already. But as always, guys, it's your boy Sunny. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.